But I wanted to hear what your perspective is on Candace Owens in particular, as someone who is, like, I think you and I both agree, very anti-Semitic, who's also mentioned in the dual anti-Semitism condemnation bill that I was on, where they put me and Candace Owens side by side to try to apply pressure to the platforms that have me on, to claim that I'm anti-Semitic as well as her.
Well, first of all, you don't bite the hand. As a general rule, I have to be serious about this, and I suspect you'll be serious too. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Candace Owens had me on her program twice, and just as a factual matter, I was, with one exception, for 10 minutes. I was never on even Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera blacklisted me. 3 years. I think it's acknowledged that I'm the world's leading academic authority on Gaza.
Yeah.
The entire network blacklisted me. And mainstream media in the U.S. asked me, was I on one network program? No. Television network program? No. Was I on any liberal podcast? No. It was just a handful, a very small handful. So I have to be careful just out of pure, propriety.
Yeah.
She had me on. She had me on twice. And she let me speak. There were moments where I significantly disagreed with her, and I was able to say what I wanted. Now, on the question of anti-Semitism, I'll be, fancy word, nuanced. And you can disagree with me or agree with me. I don't consider Candace Owens a political menace. She carries around prejudices about Jews. As I say, everybody carries around prejudices about everybody, okay? The question is not whether a person carries prejudices. I'm sure, and I'm not saying this in any way disparagingly, I'm sure you do think Jews are cheap. That's just a prejudice that a stereotype people carry. Does it have any political consequence? In my opinion, no. It's a prejudice that people carry with them. I won't say for better or for worse, obviously, but only God knows how many prejudices I carry around with me in situations, as a professor, categorizing students on first meeting them. The question is not whether I characterize them on first meeting them. I do. It's a prejudice. The question is, do I give them a chance to prove themselves, or does the prejudice manifest itself in them getting a lesser grade? That's when a prejudice becomes a, so to speak, political problem.
The woke terminology is subconscious bias.
Yeah, I think everybody carries subconscious biases. The problem with the woke people is they have no idea how the human consciousness works, and they think you can interrupt racism as if you can pull an emergency cord in the subway, interrupt racism. It was just complete crap. But I don't want to be.
I think it's, you know what it is? I sometimes sound like a broken record. I haven't really spoken that much today, even though I speak for 8 hours a day normally. It is ultimately a capitalist manifestation. I think it's a very corporate way to approach humans, where you are supposed to present yourself as a brand. A brand is what? Sanitized. A brand is perfect. A brand can't be one way or another, right? It's supposed to be the most manicured version of yourself. And I think that the problem with our approach, even in academia, on a lot of these identity politics related issues, subconscious biases, implicit biases, is that we take away the humanity and the imperfections of humanity from the conversation and turn human beings into corporate vessels, almost brands. That's the problem.
The human mind is very complex. I mean, any 2-year-old, or I should say every 8-year-old, understands that. And when you're addressing an issue like racism, or what you call subconscious prejudices or whatever, it's the chances of being able to eliminate that in any foreseeable timeline are so remote. So maybe in some ideal society in 1,000 years from now, these prejudices will be eradicated. But for the moment, I just don't see that as a priority. The priority has to be trying to give people a fair chance in a system that's robbing them of their past, robbing them of their present, and giving them no hope whatsoever for the future. And so that's why I believe that Bernie Sanders and his progeny, they are correct in what they're focusing on.
Well, I guess I do that with Bernie.
Jobs.
In some respects, with his opinion on Israel, where I think that this is something that I've tried to describe.
Before we do that, I'm happy to engage, but for the moment, I have to get back to the Candace Owens question.
Yeah, Candace Owens.
Because I want to clarify my opinion. I think that politically, she's pretty much innocuous. She's not seen as a political figure or aspiring to political office. She's kind of a figure, you might say, like Oprah. Oprah appealed to white women, as does apparently Candace Owens, obviously coming from different directions. But I would say politically pretty innocuous. I don't believe that with the case of Tucker Carlson. I think there's a potential political problem there.
I think it goes beyond immediately having an impact in politics or running for office. I think even with Candace Owens, there's definitely a significant component there because she commands the influence and attention of large swaths of the population. So I wasn't bringing up the Candace Owens thing to try to lecture you or something, just so you understand. I just wanted to hear your perspective on your experience with Candace Owens. Because I think you should go on every platform. That's my policy.
The problem with Candace Owens is, the expression, you have to pick your battles.
Yeah.
There were many things that she said which I strongly disagreed with. And then you have to decide, unless I'm going to stop her at every point, when Cristobal paid Adam Smith, every 2 seconds, let's take a pause here.
Yeah.
Because she disagreed with virtually every point he made. And she did it very effectively, I thought, extremely effectively. But at some point, it just doesn't work. Then it's like, why did you come on the show? If you're going to disagree with every single word this person says, then why did you even come on?
That's not, I wasn't even saying you should go up there and disagree.
I was careful to, so to speak, pick my battles.
You did pick your battles when it came to defending the Bolsheviks. When she said that the Bolsheviks were exhibiting an anti-Christian bias.
Right. They killed 60 million Christians and then they pretended to be Holocaust survivors.
I like that was the line in the sand that you drew for Candace.
Because then people would say that Normanism principle, that for his entire life, he has identified himself with a certain historic tradition, and now that tradition is being dragged through the mud, and he just sits there nodding. And I wasn't about to do that. I wasn't about to do that because that had to do with my personal integrity. That's the tradition I consider myself part of. Well, I didn't. I wasn't appalled. Look, yours is a different generation from mine. People think they have facts when they find it on the web. And if you spend too much time on the dark side of the web, you're going to find evidence for everything. And that's not the standard of evidence of my generation, that you found it somewhere on the dark side of the web. And she thought that she had evidence for all these sorts of things. And I just tried to be calm and rational and say, no, I don't believe there's evidence for these sorts of claims that you're making. Just as I don't believe that there's evidence that Israel killed John F. Kennedy. Just as I don't believe there's evidence that Israel killed Abraham Lincoln. And just as I don't believe that...
Is that even a theory?
It will be soon, that Israel was the cause of the fall of the Roman Empire. I just think these things are a real stretch. No, you could say whatever you want. That's not for me the question. The question is, do I have to take seriously what you say? You're free to say it, but I'm not going to attach any significance to it. Tucker Carlson, among others. As I said, I think 70% of what Tucker Carlson says is true. But when he starts going off and saying that Israel is trying to destroy the United States because it wants to make enter into a partnership with India, I just raise my eyebrows. Where did that come from? Or when he insinuates that Israel was involved in the Kennedy assassination. Well, no. Then I think you've gone off the rails.
Well, it's the scapegoating, right? I think this is a concept born out of American chauvinism, Western exceptionalism, American exceptionalism, where I think at the end of the day, if you truly, and I do think Tucker actually has seen the crimes of Israel and has found it to be heinous. I will say that. I think he is a shrewd operator, but I do believe that he genuinely finds it morally repugnant to a certain degree. But I think what he has done and what a lot of people do is, for example, they'll blame Israel for the Iraq War, right? And this is my distinction. I actually might even disagree with you on what you've said about the Iran War, where I do think that Israel has played a much heavier hand in the Iran War.
I do believe that.
Whereas the Iraq War is very clearly imperial extraction of natural resources.
I totally agree.
Whereas there is a divergence now.
I agree with you on both points.
So I think it's basically shifting the blame over to Israel or even to Jews as a representation of Israel to say we are blameless.
Totally agree.
We are perfectly. We would not be stained with these military quagmires if it wasn't for the Jewish state.
Yeah, I think that I've said I believe there's a problem there. I'm not going to say that Tucker Carlson is an anti-Semite. I'm not going to go there. I didn't say it with Candace Owens either. What I will say is I believe there is a problem there in what they're saying and this attempt now to blame Israel for everything. It's awful enough what's happened, but now I think it's gone kind of over the top. It's kind of, if I can use the expression, it's kind of a hate fest. And I've noticed that people are very critical of what I've said about Tucker Carlson because I'm kind of ruining the fun. The fun now is everybody thinks they're so brave and courageous attacking Israel. Well, actually, I think it's perfectly obvious. It takes exactly zero courage right now to attack Israel. I think it takes a certain amount of courage to defend it. It does.
It has shifted quite dramatically, yes, the pendulum has swung in the other direction.
And it's not that I'm in principle against hate fest. There are a lot of people who are deserving of the hate that's directed against them. But one has to, I think, always pause to be as analytically and factually rigorous as possible because we don't want to create, like you say, we don't want to create distractions and scapegoats. We have to be clear. And one of the things we should be clear about is the nature of our own society and not to pretend as if Israel hadn't come along, we would have been on a virginally white path.
Norman Finkelstein, thank you so much for coming on. This is a real honor.